Good evening, Golden. I'm Mayor Laura Weinberg, and with me here tonight is our city manager, Jason Slawinski. And thanks for joining us for another Wednesday night live briefing. I thought before getting into some updates that for anybody who's tuning in live that I would just check in with all of you and ask the question, how are you? How are you holding up? I have been hearing from a lot more people about underlying anxiety due to the uncertainties of what we're facing. It's been a while. We're moving forward, but we still don't know what comes next. And I just want to say if that's you, if you're having a lot of this frustration and anxiety about what's next, it's okay. It's okay to have some bad days, and it's okay to find help. We are fortunate to have wonderful resources available in Golden through our Jefferson County Mental Health and through Jefferson County Public Health. Right from their COVID-19 page, there is a section on mental health that provides resources. There's a weekly blog on there. There's good information. So I encourage you, if you've been feeling stressed, anxious, lonely, because we're still staying at home, visit them online and see what they have to offer. Personally, I've been having good days and bad days. And recently, I let a lack of sleep. I don't know about you, but I've not been sleeping great. I let a lack of sleep and a lot of negative stories and negative news really get to me and really bother me. It was disheartening to see people in our community behaving terribly online and in emails and phone calls to me, pointing fingers, taking sides, sharing all kinds of information to support their position. It is hard enough to watch a public health emergency turn partisan in Washington, D.C. It is even harder to watch that same partisan us versus them mentality happening right here in Golden. I did not want to keep dwelling on the negative news and needed to refocus, so I practiced some of the advice from the mental health professionals. I exercised in an online exercise class with a favorite instructor. I went outside, checked on my garden, and was happy to see a lot of baby spinach plants popping up. I reached out to several individuals to talk about possible collaboration and ideas for programs to help the community. And I spent time with my family. I reset and am again finding, as I hope all of you are, that there are more positive stories in Golden than there are negative ones. And as easy as it is to find those negative stories, I am finding again, it's even easier to get to the positive ones. Last week, City Council passed a resolution, and I sent out a letter to each of our Golden businesses supporting them in determining their own rules regarding face coverings for customers inside their place of business. Businesses must follow the state public health guidelines for their employees. And I ask that we all respect our business owners and their decisions and respect each other and move forward with kindness. Some good news regarding our local business programs. The business loan program that was launched with $1 million available for Golden businesses completed the first round of applications and will be able to get money out to those businesses quickly. There will be enough money remaining in the fund to open a second round of applications for those businesses who did not apply the first time. This is a great program, and I know there's been a lot of programs and opportunities for businesses from different levels of government. So for those who didn't get a chance to apply for this city specific funding opportunity, there is a second chance, and dates and details for that second round will be available soon. Another great program for our businesses is coming from the Golden Chamber of Commerce and is thanks to a donation from Ball Corporation. They are providing back-to-business kits to our local businesses so that they have access to very needed supplies. It is extremely hard these days to get access to disinfectants, hand sanitizers, face coverings, signs, and more. And so these back-to-business kits are being made available to local businesses so that they can reopen and have the supplies that they need to follow both public health guidelines as well as their own rules for their place of business. And businesses are reopening. We moved to our Safer at Home orders from the county, and so businesses that had previously been closed are reopening with some modifications. I encourage you to give a call, check in with a business, see what their revised hours or procedures are, but do start checking in and reaching out to some of those businesses that you've been missing. It is great to see things slowly moving forward. I was out along Washington Avenue this morning and saw new streetlight banners going up. They look great. I saw the American flags and all the spring flowers still out. And the sky was really a perfect blue. I also saw the graduation banner hanging under our arch. So before I turn things over, I want to offer my congratulations to all of our 2020 Golden High School graduates. It is hard not to be together this Friday at Marv K Stadium, recognizing all of your accomplishments in person. I have to say I do appreciate the creativity in graduation celebrations that I've been seeing, including driving and walking past the houses that have the Golden High School graduate yard signs. It's wonderful to see who in the community has a graduate this year. I've been seeing pictures of graduates under the arch, and I hope that all students will take that photo opportunity to get your picture, maybe in your cap and gown, under the arch, under the 2020 graduation banner before it comes down on Monday. And I'd like to remind you that whatever you plan to do to celebrate graduation, please keep the gatherings under 10 people. Stay socially distanced, even when you really, really just want to give each other a hug. And remember to stay healthy and stay safe. So congratulations, class of 2020. It's a difficult time, but you should be so proud. And I know the city of Golden is with you in celebrating, even though we're distanced. So with that, I will turn it over to our city manager for some updates from the city.
Good evening, Mayor, and thank you very much, and good evening, Golden. Glad to be with you again. We do have, before we start, our communications staff wanted me to make note that anybody who's on Facebook Live, and if you're experiencing some technical difficulties, and we apparently are with Facebook Live tonight, there are three other options to watch this live briefing online at gco.tv. If you have Comcast Channel 8 or 880 is the numbers, and then on our city's website we also have this program as well. So if you're on Facebook Live and you're experiencing those difficulties as we are on our end, feel free to check out one of those other avenues. Just a couple of updates from me, and then we can get to any questions from folks in the community. With the Safer at Home protocols that went into place this week, we have reopened our tennis courts and outdoor pickleball courts, which I think I mentioned last week, but they are open. I've seen them being used already. We've got signs in place encouraging social distancing and the rules of such use of those facilities. I think they're limited to 4 individuals at a time. as things start reopening under the Safer at Home, and then even beyond that, once we get into what the next stages look like, we're working on now a current status of all city services. Hope to have that done in the next week or two through our communications department. We will post that on guidinggolden.com, and it will have the latest update of all city services, parks, other recreation facilities, our city buildings and services, so that you know what the current status of every one of those is in current time. As things reopen, it's not going to be the light switch on and everything opens at once. So it will be in stages, depending on the type of facility and program. In order for you to have the latest, I'll reference you to that. We'll get that posted as soon as we can, but that'll be a good resource for you if you're looking as the weeks progress on something specific related to city services. So we'll work through that. Sort of related to that, we expect that on May 25th, the governor's office has indicated it'll come out with additional guidance for local governments and other facilities on whether they can reopen, including things like ski resorts and restaurants and libraries and so forth. But as it relates to city services, one of the things we are keeping our eye on is how it applies to our day camps and parks and rec services, our summer activities. So that's one of the struggles for us right now in terms of operations is not only planning for those services to be reopened, but what is that going to look like, and what are the rules going to be from the state level in the public health realm as we look to reopen things. So stay tuned. We'll put out information again on Guiding Golden as to the current status of all those. In fact, we'll also indicate, if we can, when will be specific timing as to when we'll be reviewing those services to potentially reopen, so that you have an idea of when you can expect an announcement on something. But it could change again on a daily or even weekly basis. So I would just ask you to check that on a regular basis going forward. The other thing I wanted to share, yesterday, the U.S. House of Representatives introduced a new measure called the HEROES Act, which is another stimulus bill, a coronavirus relief bill, that does include revenue stabilization for counties and municipalities across the country. Under the proposal, $125 billion would be sent directly to municipalities, so we'll keep our eye on that. That's one thing we'll be monitoring closely in the days and weeks to come. The CARES Act is the initial relief bill that we expect to get some funding from through Jefferson County. That one did not come directly to the city, but came through Jefferson County. We have an intergovernmental agreement on our agenda for tomorrow evening that City Council will consider. And we expect to get a little bit of revenue from that to help cover some of the initial COVID-19 response efforts. But we will also monitor the potential opportunity for direct funding through the HEROES Act. So those were the updates, Mayor, that I had for today for the folks. Nothing has changed really since last week in terms of city services. And as I said, we'll make sure that we post the most current status of all of our services on our Guiding Golden website going forward.
Yeah, I'll add a couple of additional things. I continue to participate in a local Jefferson County-wide nonprofit call, mostly focused on food. We did talk some about housing assistance, and as can be expected with the large increase in unemployment numbers here in the city and in the county and really the state and country, there's been a large increase in need. And the food pantries, of which we have several here in Golden, as well as additional ones in the county that service Golden residents, they do have a significant need for food items. The big food drive that the U.S. Post Office typically has at the beginning of May, the Stamp Out Food, Hunger, Stamp Out. Don't remember the name. It's a great food drive. They have it every year. They did not hold it this year. So some of the food pantries, including our own in Golden, that rely on all those shelf-stable food products that come through that food drive have not received them. So just want to encourage those who are able to consider making a donation to our food pantries. The Christian Action Guild is the one that has typically received most of the food from the Post Service Drive, and also to consider some of the other, if food is not something that you can contribute, but you can make a financial contribution, it is still needed. It's going for food, it's going for housing assistance. The state, I was in a conversation, the state and the governor did make some additional housing assistance dollars available. They are only available, there's never enough dollars, and they are only available to people who were at 50% area median income prior to the crisis. So anybody who has seen their income fall since then, who maybe didn't qualify back in January, is not able to receive assistance through those additional state dollars. But other private or other nonprofit sources of funds are able to provide that assistance. So the helpgoldennow.org is still the location to go to make those types of contributions and to find the organizations that are providing for those in need. Even as we're coming out of the stay at home and businesses are starting to reopen, the need is not going away. So just wanted to, it's been a few weeks since we mentioned that, and the numbers and the information that I'm hearing from our nonprofits continue to be a significant amount of need in the community. So thank you for all, for anything that you can do to help others.
For questions, COVID-19 at cityofgolden.net would be where to send them via email. I'm guessing with the technical difficulties, it'd be hard through Facebook Live tonight to submit a question. So we'll rely on our COVID-19 at cityofgolden.net email for questions. We did have 2 questions in advance come in. One was from, they both were on the same topic. One was from Nancy. I don't have the name on the other one, but they both referenced implementing citywide mask requirements, and City Council did have a lengthy discussion about that last week and did pass a resolution. I don't know if you wanted to touch on that again, Mayor?
Yeah, it's, masks and face coverings, it is a topic of interest and has been for a couple of weeks. City Council did pass a resolution, as I mentioned earlier, supporting businesses making decisions for their customers for indoor spaces. So the enforcement inside a place of business is up to the business, and we want to encourage them and support them to be able to do that effectively. We did not have much discussion on requiring across the city, particularly in outdoor spaces. That is not, I know that is an area of concern for people when they're out walking and they see individuals without a face covering. Council did not pick up that topic of requiring them everywhere outside of the home. Certainly, the governor has strongly encouraged everyone to wear a mask when they leave home, as are we in Golden. I have sat in on enough of these calls with the public health professionals, as has the city manager. The county public health department has not made that a mandate for face coverings. And we are following our public health guidance. But the public health guidance does say that if you can get to 80% or more of people in an area wearing a face covering, you significantly reduce the transmission of the disease. And so we've seen places in Golden that are doing great with hitting those numbers of having the majority of the people or all of their people in a vicinity wearing face coverings. And I would encourage everybody to please just wear it when you're out, when you're around other people. It is what we are asking, not just here in the city, but across the state, to do it to help protect others, help protect those who are at higher risk for getting seriously ill. So yes, council did take it up. We did address it and pass the resolution supporting our businesses. And I know businesses are putting their rules in place. They are putting up their own signs about their rules. I was on a call today, and one business said that has reopened and does have that requirement in place, that they'd only gotten some pushback from one individual. They were able to provide that individual with a face covering, and the visit proceeded without problems. So making those face coverings available for customers who walk in without one can be very effective.
Any questions come in?
Yeah, we
through
have a couple
email?
of questions. I also just wanted to remind businesses and merchants in town that the city has created 4 different versions of mask requirement signs that we've made available to businesses, and if they need a copy of those, they can email covid19@cityofgolden.net, and we'd be happy to forward those signs along that they can print and put in their window. So I did have a question from Melissa, who's wondering when the Golden Whitewater Park will be open for kayaking or surfing.
Melissa, that's a great question, and one that I can't answer today as I sit here, but I will make sure it's on our list of facilities that we include on the current status of things as we list their status of being open or not. Right now, all water activities in the creek the creek is closed to all water activities, and again, the reason for that, as we've talked about before, is protection of our public safety personnel, as well as there's just no ability for us to encourage social distancing while in the water. And I recognize that the Whitewater Park is a bit different than what other tubers, the environment tubers create in the creek. But I will say that one of our concerns, and the concern of our police chief and the sheriff of Jefferson County, is that our personnel, our public safety personnel, will be called upon to assist folks in the creek and even in the Whitewater Park area. So as of now, it's closed to activities in the water, and again, we'll make sure we post the current status of that if it changes on our Guiding Golden website.
Okay. We have another question from Renee, who's wondering what the restrictions are for small social gatherings in Golden at the end of May, maybe the beginning of June. She would like to have a small get-together for her 2020 graduate in her backyard, but doesn't want to break any rules or put anyone in harm's way. So she'd like to know what's possible and what the stipulations would be.
It's a great question, and right now, Golden and Jefferson County are following the state rules, which are still limiting gatherings to 10 people. And that's, I think, indoors, outdoors, anywhere. The rule is less than 10. Those safer at home guidelines that we're operating under now are likely to, will definitely have a review towards the end of the month. So the governor has said that on May 25th, the state will have new data based on the last 2 weeks and the effectiveness of the safer at home guidelines, and could potentially come out with new guidance at that time. It's really hard to say what that new guidance will entail, if it will, increase the size of gatherings, if it will allow for other businesses to reopen, if it will allow for amenities to reopen. It is really hard to say, because without the data to make that decision, there's no decision. So we're waiting for the 25th. I think the longer you can wait into June to plan anything, the better. You'll have more time to understand whatever the new rules might be. Gatherings are tricky. We want to gather, we want to celebrate, we want to mourn together. We want to celebrate the good times like graduations and weddings together. But the public health guidelines are pretty clear that one individual, one asymptomatic individual who doesn't even know that they're ill, can become a super spreader and infect everyone in a gathering. And so the smaller the size of the gathering, the less risk for a large event of COVID-19 spread. So that's where the public health guidelines are now. I know that adds to a lot of this uncertainty of when can I do this, and what's the date I can plan for something, and unfortunately I think that's just where we all are right now of uncertainty, and hoping that if everybody continues to stay home and wear their face coverings and keep their social distance, that the numbers on May 25th will allow us to reopen a little bit further and gather a little bit more.
Yeah, for those of us that are planners, and I could imagine, I think it was Renee, you might be a planner. It is frustrating, and the mayor and I have experienced that frustration on our end as we look at all the different services that are out there. We're trying to put in place some early planning on how we can assist our downtown restaurants in if there's an opportunity for outdoor seating at some point, that we can assist in that effort by providing additional space. And we're working on that right now, what that could look like. But again, without specific guidance from our public health officials, we're kind of in a holding pattern, and I know that's frustrating for many people.
Okay, we have a comment from Todd on Facebook, who wants us to consider closing Lookout Mountain Road during a slow midweek day so that cyclists, hikers, and runners, et cetera, can use the road safely without fear of being run over by people who are using it in a dangerous manner.
Yeah. Thank you, Todd, for that question. And this came up a few weeks ago as well, and it's a good suggestion, to allow for some distancing of people who want to use the road for recreation rather than driving, and spread things out a little bit. The city did have conversation with Jefferson County. The vast majority of Lookout Mountain Road is outside of city limits and is outside of the jurisdiction of the city, and so any type of closure needs to come through the county. And I don't know if the city manager has any more to add, but the answer, as I understand it at the time, was they were not interested in closing the road at all, and putting resources, resources from the sheriff's office to manage or handle that closure. So I don't know that the situation has changed over the last weeks. I don't think it's changed enough to go back and ask the question again. But I do agree that at some point it would be worth revisiting it with the county, perhaps when resources are more available or there's less of a concern with monitoring. I think the resources are being used heavily at Jeffco Open Space that has seen a lot of visitation and increased need for monitoring at the open space. So perhaps we can revisit with them later.
Yeah, that is certainly a possibility, Mayor, to bring that up again with the Sheriff's Office. Resource was an issue that they talked about, a concern, and also the concern of something that draws additional people to our county from other areas as a concern, because with those additional people comes additional resources that are necessary, and we're seeing that on a lot of our trails as well. So right now, public safety personnel and all of their discussions across the county are concerned about anything that's going to draw resources away from responding to primary calls, because many of our agencies are working with different shifts and reduced staffing and those types of things. And so our Clear Creek closure, our fire restrictions in place, all of those kind of things are things that are done as an effort to not try to draw additional resources to places where we don't need to have them right now. And this would probably fall under that category again, but we're happy to bring it up as the circumstances change.
Okay, and an email from Lon, who wanted to know what the 4 business sign wordings were that I mentioned, and I don't recall what they are exactly, but I will, just wanted to let Lon know that we will send him the email that has all 4, and he can choose which sign is most appropriate for his business.
And Lon, that's great. And I guess maybe I should get that email so I can see the signs too. I think that having some consistency in signage, for our businesses can be helpful. People get accustomed to seeing, you're a business that is encouraging face coverings, can be helpful. Rather than maybe every business having to come up with their own that's slightly different. So hopefully more businesses will take advantage of the designs that are made available, and we can create a culture of it here in Golden. Just that when you leave your house, when you go into a business, you have your face covering with you, and it's the expectation. I do hope as well, and I had a bit of an exchange with the Golden Visitor Center, who is hoping to open in June with some modifications and adjustments as well, if they're able to open, about making sure that visitors who come to Golden this summer also understand those expectations and those rules that we have here in our community, and how perhaps the visitor center can help with that, so that folks who are coming in from out of town, who maybe don't have a face covering, can have one available to them, and they can understand what we do here in Golden.
Did he leave his email address with us? Do you have his email address?
Yes.
Okay.
We will
and
respond.
we'll make sure we get back to you with those signs.
And I've been told that there are 5 signs, not 4.
Oh, hey.
And Jefferson County has created some as well that are downloadable and printable, so we'll send him those as well.
Okay. That's great.
Any other questions come
No
in?
more questions at the moment.
On the subject of masks, I'll just say if you haven't seen the video that the city put together, the communications team did a great job putting together a video about wearing our masks. So if you're on Facebook, pop over and take a look at that. If you're not on Facebook, I'm sure you can get online through the city's YouTube channel and take a look at it there. But positive messaging, positive reinforcement. The more people doing it will encourage even greater numbers to do it, and I think that's what's happening with face coverings in other cities and other places. Is it's becoming more commonplace, and more people are doing it, and I hope we get there as well. Golden.
Any last minute questions? No?
Nothing yet? Nothing's coming.
Appreciate your time, Golden. Thanks for tuning in. The mayor and I have agreed that we won't be back next Wednesday only because we don't anticipate much changing between now and next week. So we will come back on the following Wednesday, which is the 27th. Is that right? May 27th, Wednesday night, we'll be back, and hopefully by then, we anticipate early that week having some more information from Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment that we can then share with the community. But in the meantime, I do encourage you to reach out to the mayor, myself, our city council, with questions. We're happy. We're still here. We're happy to take your questions during the week as well and help you out. But we'll do another live briefing 2 weeks from today.
Yes, and just as a reminder, we have 2 city council meetings between now and then. We have this Thursday and next Thursday, so you can tune into those. We do talk about COVID-19 and updates from the city there as well, and we don't take questions from the community during those parts, but certainly if there is any information or changes, we will be able to discuss them publicly in our city council meetings on the 14th and the 21st.
Good evening and stay safe, Golden.